Digital photography has revolutionized the way we capture and share images. It's like a fun adventure, but without the pesky mosquitoes and sunburn. It's a way to capture memories without the hassle of developing film or accidentally spilling coffee on your prints. Understanding the key concepts and terminology of digital photography is essential for anyone who wants to take better pictures. A solid grasp of these fundamental elements will help you unlock the full potential of your camera and create stunning images. Think of it like learning a new language, but instead of conjugating verbs, you're learning how to make your camera say cheese at the right time. Fundamental concepts. 1. Pixel, the smallest unit of a digital image representing a single dot of color. Think of pixels as tiny dots of color that come together to form a picture. The more pixels in an image, the sharper and clearer it will be. Or think of pixels as tiny, colorful Lego bricks. The more bricks you have, the more detailed and interesting your picture will be. 2. Resolution, the number of pixels in an image determining its sharpness and detail. A higher resolution means more pixels, leading to a clearer and more defined image. This is like the image's definition or clarity. A higher resolution means more pixels, resulting in a sharper and more detailed picture. Or this is like the number of pixels in a digital image. Imagine trying to build a castle with just a handful of Lego bricks. Not very impressive, right? That's a low-resolution image. 3. Sensor, the heart of a digital camera, converting light into electrical signals. It's like the camera's eye, capturing the world around it. Imagine the sensor as the camera's eye. It captures the light and turns it into a digital image. The sensor is like the camera's eye, but without the ability to roll its eyes at bad photos. 4. Aperture, the adjustable opening in the lens that controls the amount of light entering the camera. It's like the pupil of your eye, expanding or contracting to let in more or less light. This is like the camera's pupil. It controls how much light enters the camera. A wider aperture lets in more light, while a narrower aperture lets in less. Or think of the aperture as the camera's mouth. A wide aperture means the camera is yawning and letting in lots of light. A narrow aperture means the camera is pouting and only letting in a little light. 5. Shutter speed, the length of time the camera's shutter is open, affecting how motion is captured. A fast shutter speed freezes action, while a slow shutter speed creates motion blur. This is like the camera's eyelid. It controls how long the sensor is exposed to light. A fast shutter speed freezes motion, while a slow shutter speed creates a blurry effect. A fast shutter speed is like a quick blink, freezing action. A slow shutter speed is like a long, dreamy blink, creating a blurry effect. 6. ISO, a measure of the camera's sensitivity to light. It's like turning up or down the brightness on a TV screen, allowing you to shoot in low light conditions but potentially introducing noise. It's like the camera's sensitivity to light. A higher ISO setting allows you to take pictures in low light conditions, but it can also make the picture noisy or grainy. Or it's like the camera's caffeine level. A high ISO setting is like drinking a double espresso, making the camera more sensitive to light but also more prone to jitters, noise. 7. Exposure, the overall brightness or darkness of an image determined by the interplay of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. It's like adjusting the brightness and contrast of a photo. This is how bright or dark the picture is. It's influenced by the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. This is like the brightness of a light bulb. A well-exposed image is like a perfectly lit room, while an overexposed image is like a room with the lights on too bright, and an underexposed image is like a dark room with only a candle. 8. White balance, the camera's ability to adjust colors to match the lighting conditions. It's like correcting the color cast of a photo taken under fluorescent lights. This is like adjusting the color temperature of the image to match the lighting conditions. It helps to ensure that the colors look natural. This is like adjusting the color temperature of a light bulb to match the mood of the room. Camera features and settings. 9. Autofocus, the camera's automatic system for focusing on the subject. It's like your eye's natural ability to focus on objects at different distances. This is like the camera's built-in autofocus feature. It helps the camera focus on the subject automatically. Or it's like the camera's built-in GPS, always trying to find the right subject. 10. Manual focus, the ability to manually adjust the focus using a ring on the lens. It gives you more control over the depth of field and creative effects. This allows you to manually adjust the focus using a ring on the lens. This is like driving a car without cruise control. It takes more effort, but you have more control over where you're going. 11. Macro mode, a setting that allows for shooting extremely close-up subjects. It's like using a magnifying glass to capture tiny details. It allows you to take close-up pictures of small objects. This is like using a magnifying glass to look for tiny aliens in your backyard. 12. Burst mode, a setting that allows for shooting a series of images quickly. It's like capturing a rapid sequence of events, such as a sports action or a child playing. It's great for capturing action shots or fast-moving subjects. This is like a machine gun for photographers, spraying bullets of images at your subject. 13. Exposure compensation, the ability to manually adjust the exposure, overriding the camera's automatic settings. It's like fine-tuning the brightness of a photo to your liking. This allows you to adjust the exposure manually, even if the camera's automatic settings are wrong. This is like having a remote control for your camera's brightness. 14. Metering, the camera's method of measuring the light in the scene to determine exposure. It's like the camera's built-in light meter, assessing the lighting conditions and adjusting the settings accordingly. This is like the camera's built-in taste tester, trying to determine if the image is too sweet, too sour, or just right. 15. Histogram, a graph that shows the distribution of light and dark tones in an image. It's like a visual representation of the image's brightness and contrast. It helps you to see if the image is overexposed or underexposed. This is like a heart rate monitor for your image, showing you if it's excited, stressed, or relaxed. Image formats. 16. JPEG. This is the most common image format. It's like a compressed version of the image, which makes it smaller in size but also reduces the quality slightly. This is like a compressed version of an image, like a vacuum-sealed bag of chips. It's smaller, but you might lose a little crunch. 17. RAW, a lossless image format that captures the full sensor data. It's like the original unprocessed image. It captures all the details from the sensor, giving you more flexibility when editing. It's offering more control over color, contrast, and other aspects. This is like the original uncompressed image, like a freshly baked cookie. It's bigger, but it tastes better. Compositional elements. 18. Rule of thirds, a compositional guideline that divides the image into 9 equal parts using 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines. It's like creating a visual grid to help balance elements within the frame. It helps to create a more visually interesting composition. This is like playing tic-tac-toe with your camera. 19. Leading lines, lines within the image that guide the viewer's eye to a specific point. They're like invisible pathways that draw your attention to the main subject, like invisible arrows pointing to the main subject of your image. 20. Depth of field, the range of focus in an image. It's controlling the focus to create a sense of depth and dimension. It's controlling how much of your image is in focus. A shallow depth of field isolates the subject from the background, while a deep depth of field keeps both the subject and background in focus. A shallow depth of field is like wearing blurry glasses, while a deep depth of field is like having perfect vision. Additional photography terms. 21. Bracketing. Bracketing is like taking multiple photos of the same scene with different levels of brightness. It's like baking a cake and trying different temperatures to get the perfect golden brown crust. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you could try different levels of spice on your tacos. 22. Histogram. A histogram is like a graph that shows the distribution of light and dark tones in an image. It's like a map that helps you see where the light and dark areas are. If you're feeling adventurous, you could try reading a histogram like a tea leaf. 23. Metering mode. Metering mode is like the camera's built-in light meter. It helps the camera determine the correct exposure for the scene. It's like having a built-in taste tester for your photos. 24. Noise. Noise is like the static on an old TV. It's graininess or artifacts that appear in images, especially at high ISO settings. It's like trying to watch a movie in a thunderstorm. 25. Lens flare. Lens flare is like a rainbow or starburst that appears in images when the lens is exposed to direct sunlight. It's like adding a little sparkle to your photos, but be careful not to overdo it. 26. Vignette. A vignette is like a dark circle around the edges of an image. It can be used to create a vintage or moody effect. It's like adding a little drama to your photos. 27. Chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration is like a color distortion that occurs when the lens cannot focus all colors at the same point. It's like wearing glasses that make everything look a little blurry and rainbow-colored. It's like adding a little psychedelic touch to your photos. 28. Bokeh. Bokeh is the quality of the out-of-focus areas in an image. It's like the blurry background in a portrait. It's like adding a little magic to your photos. 29. Panning. Panning is like moving your camera horizontally to follow a moving subject. It's like watching a tennis match and moving your head to follow the ball. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you could try panning while riding a roller coaster. 30. Tilting. Tilting is like moving your camera vertically to follow a moving subject. It's like watching a bird fly and tilting your head to follow it. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you could try tilting while doing yoga. So, are you ready to embark on a digital photography adventure? It's like a treasure hunt, but instead of gold, you're searching for the perfect shot. Understanding the key concepts and terminology is like having a map to your photographic journey. So grab your camera, experiment with different settings, and let your creativity run wild. Remember, the best way to learn is by doing. And who knows, maybe you'll discover a hidden talent for capturing the world around you. Just don't forget to bring a snack because photography can be a hungry job.